Hey everybody, this is an impromptu video. I'm thinking about doing this video because, oh, gosh, this is irritating. My ear's closing up on me. I think I need to put some peroxide in there. The weather's been insane. So I'm like an echo. You know how it feels like your ear's underwater? Okay, I decided to do this video because this time of year people are always asking about, with this perplexed tone of voice, why aren't my chickens laying? Especially first-time chicken owners. And I will start that by saying, using a term that I coined years ago, and I have a video by that title from 2017, Hens Are Not Vending Machines. You know, people say, oh, chickens, an egg a day, I'm going to get an egg a day. Well, for a time, you might. And it will depend on the breed and how consistent a layer that breed tends to be. It also depends on individuality, because that's a big thing too. But there are many reasons why your hens may not be laying. And the first one is age. Now, if you have hatchery stock and they're under 2 years old, they probably are laying fairly regularly, especially if they're the most common hatchery breeds that you get in feed stores every year. The ones that are overbred, like puppy mill chickens, chicken mill chickens, you know, the Buff Orpingtons, the Rhode Island Reds, the Wyandottes, the sex links, the golden sex links, the red sex links. Sex link just means they're hatchable, they're sexable at hatch, because the male and female, when they hatch and they're a little down, they get dried up after hatch, their fuzz is a little different color, so you can immediately tell which are male and which are female. And there's a little bit more to it than that, but that's not the subject of this video. So the most common hatchery stock are usually pretty good layers because they're bred to lay. They're not really bred to be a shiny example of their breed. Their conformation may be off, their eye color, their leg color, all the things that make a breed may be totally off, because hatcheries realize that most of those breeds people get every spring, they get them for eggs, pretty much, except for the meat birds, of course. Even though meat birds do lay eggs, of course, they have to, or you couldn't get more meat birds. But the first reason they may not be laying is age. After 2 years old, they may start to slow down a little bit. I will say there's a huge difference between hatchery stock and breeder heritage type stock. My chickens generally lay much later. The oldest laying hen I've ever had was 13. She, except for her last year when she's about to turn 14, she laid eggs every single year, albeit at a much reduced rate, but she still laid eggs every single year. Oddly enough, she was actually the daughter of a McMurray hatchery Barred Rock. That was my Amanda. But as they age, they lay less. And if they have been a great winter layer, and some breeds lay better in winter than others, my Brahmas are an excellent winter layer because they have pea combs, little combs that don't stick way up, so they're not subject to frostbite. Frostbite will make a hen stop laying. They're not really that subject to frostbite, and they have feathered legs, and they're big birds, and they have lots of fluff, and Brahmas are excellent winter birds, and they lay better in winter than many birds do. The bantams are less likely to lay in the winter. But age is the first thing. The older they get, the less they lay, and if they had been laying in winter, the older they get, the less they lay in the winter, even though they had been doing it previously. So that is one thing. Nutrition. You know, a lot of people get these chickens, they go, I'm just going to throw corn out for them. Well, that's a problem, because laying hens need good nutrition, good protein levels in order to lay. Corn is about 8% protein. It is basically it's equivalent to candy. for them. It's got a lot of good fat. Yeah, it'll actually be a good thing to add to your feed maybe in the wintertime, but they need higher levels of protein than corn provides. Now, there's also a difference between free-range birds who go out there and get a lot of greens, a lot more bugs than the ones that are stuck in a pen all the time. But in the wintertime, there's nothing to eat. So you need to keep your protein levels up in the winter. So don't even feed a lot of extra corn in the winter. A little bit more is fine, but don't go to just all corn. The feed that most people say 16% protein is the minimum for layers. Mine have always had, almost always had 22%. Tucker Milling has great feeds. They're based in the South. I think they're actually out of Alabama. They still have animal protein from porcine sources in their feeds, most of their feeds, and they have what they call a super layer, which is, or a show, they call it show layer now or something. They've changed the name of it and the packaging, but it's the same thing. It's a 22% layer pellet. And so when I give them that, even if I give them their normal, what I call scratch, it's actually a gamecock conditioner food that on its own has 16% protein and 13 grains. Even if I give them some of that, they're getting between 16 and 22% protein. So that's an excellent protein level for laying hens. They also need their calcium, extra calcium. I give that in the form of oyster shell that the hens have free choice. I don't put it in their layer feed, even though layer pellets do have calcium for eggshell quality. I find that a lot need more than that. And of course, vitamin D helps them absorb calcium. They don't do well without the levels of vitamin D. But anyway, a good quality feed of proper protein level, minimum 16%. 18, 20, 22 is better. All of my birds get the same feed. All of them get the 22% because it comes in what I call a mini pellet. It's great for little bantams, but everybody gets the same mini pellet. I don't change the size of the pellet for the Brahmas. They all eat the same one. So first age, and then nutrition. The third one would be time of year. We have reduced daylight hours now, especially since the time change when everything's off. That was a big change, and so my birds are getting out a different time of day. They're going to roost at a different time of day. Even my youngest group, who are only about 32 weeks old, they actually slowed way down. Like I have 9 pullets who are about 32 weeks old, mix of Bantam Cochins and Easter eggers, and they were laying, 6-7 eggs a day of the 9, because they don't lay, every one of them doesn't lay every day, or I get 9 a day. And today or yesterday, I think we only got 2 eggs from that group. So this time, the time change did affect them. A lot of people say put artificial light in the coop. I have never done that. It's supposed to trick them into thinking there are more hours in the day, that it's a different time of year. I don't advise to do that, because one thing to note is that hens are not vending machines, because hens are animals. They are subject to all kinds of stresses, to the daylight hours, to the time of year, how cold it is. If they're using their calories to stay warm, then those calories are not available for egg production. Now, a hen is hatched with every single yolk she's ever going to have already in her body, in little embryonic form, not chick embryo, but you know what I mean. The tiny little, the seeds of yolk, so to speak, are in her body when she is hatched. But to form the shells around, for those yolks to grow, for the shell to form around them, it takes calories. And if they are in the middle of frigid winter and they are trying to stay warm, Plus, then, they're using their calories for warmth. I do notice that a lot of times in the middle of winter, the level of poop that's under the roost will be less because they are using the calories. They're using that feed. They're not pooping it back out. They're actually using the energy that comes from the feed they eat to stay warm. Okay, that was number 3. Number 4, if they're molting, chickens basically replace a portion of their feathers every year in a molt. Their first big molt usually happens around 18 to 20 weeks old, 20 months old. However, they do experience like a mini molt about 9 months old, and you can actually notice that with some, and some can actually lose weight at that time. When they are molting and they are growing back feathers, that takes a lot of energy. Feathers are protein. And if you're not feeding them well and they're growing in feathers, even if you are feeding them well, it takes a lot for a chicken to grow in a whole half a body's worth of feathers. And they are not going to be able to produce as many eggs usually as they do any other time when they're not molting. So the molt is another reason that they're not going to be laying well. And then if they're molting when it's cool, on top of that, don't expect an egg from that hen. So there's several reasons why they might not lay. Another reason they might not lay is predator pressure. Say if there's been something lurking around the coop and frightening these birds, and they can hear that at night. They can hear that. If something is scratching at the door trying to get in, that stresses them out. If there's a predator attack, and even though they survive it, especially if they lose someone, they may all stop laying. So stress like that will often stop a whole flock from laying for a period of time. Another reason that they might not be laying, they might quit laying, is if you move them to a brand new coop or something. Now, it's not as stressful if they move to a new building on the same property as they move from somebody else's house to your house. Often, if you buy grown hens, which I never do, I don't ever advise people to buy started birds, but if you do, and you get them to your house and they say, well, the seller said they were laying and they're not laying, they probably stopped. I mean, yeah, the seller could be lying, sure, but they probably stopped because they have a whole new environment. They're that's a stress. Even if it's a better environment than they came from, they're not used to it. So it's another reason they can stop laying. Now, so I think you understand that there are a lot of reasons for hens to quit laying, and think you should expect that they will at some time slow down or cease laying for whatever reason. And there's not necessarily anything wrong. They're animals. They're not machines. Okay. Now, I have seen some disturbing videos on YouTube often. Hang on, before I say that, there's another thing that might stop them laying. If they are covered in mites and lice, they will quit. That can be something that they will be feeling bad, and I would say, you need to make sure, look them over, look around their little tushy, spread the feathers under their neck, under their wings. You might have to have a magnifying glass if you have bad eyesight close up, but you need to check for external pests. Okay, they can also stop laying if they have a really bad big worm load. So let's just say pests might be another reason. So I just didn't want to leave that one out. Always look your birds over. Every single hen, you need to grab them up. You need to look them over every month or so. Just make sure they are not covered in lice or mites or whatever. So let's get back to the videos. The videos. I have seen a lot of so-called experts talk about how to keep your hens laying through the winter with all kinds of crackpot advice, and I mean crackpot. And there's said you feed them this particular thing and they will lay all the way through winter. No. You can't, the truth is you cannot make or force a hen to lay. You can't. I don't care what you say. And I came across a video years ago, and oh my gosh, I thought, you need to take that back. Don't you tell people that. Somebody had said something about, oh, you feed them loaf bread twice a day or whatever it was. I thought, are you kidding me? Are you out of your gourd? What you're doing is you're giving them empty calories that doesn't do a thing for them, gives them no protein, and you're taking away from their good food, and that's going to make them lay? Let's just say anybody can say anything on YouTube, unfortunately. Unless you're conservative, then you have to be censored, but they don't censor bad information about chickens, unfortunately. There are some good channels to watch. There are some bad channels to watch as far as chicken management goes, okay? So, I think I would be very careful who you're listening to, and yeah, get you a good reference book on raising chickens. There's an older book called Living with Chickens, which is a really good book. There's, oh gosh, I'm trying to think of the chicken books that I actually have. Chickens for Dummies, or Chicken Raising for Dummies by Rob Ludlow and Kimberly, I forgot her last name. Rob Ludlow, who owns Backyard Chickens, co-authored that book. Chickens for Dummies, or Chicken Raising for, I forget what the name of it is. I own the book, I own a signed copy, because he was my boss for a while. I was a moderator, called him Chief. He don't like to be called the boss. But yeah, that's a really good book. So there are some really good reference books that you ought to have on hand. Any book by Gail Damerow. I don't know what that noise is, sorry. Somebody's pulling a trailer or something. Any book by Gail Damerow is excellent. But it would behoove you to have a reference book on chickens. And yeah, some of them are excellent reference books. Some of, but the YouTube, it's a little harder to pick and choose the good information from the bad information sometimes. And but anyway, those are some of the reasons your chickens might not be laying. Now, there is another reason a hen might not be laying, but this is more concerned with illness. If she is laying internally, if she has egg yolk peritonitis or some kind of reproductive malfunction, but that's usually related to that individual hen. We're really talking about why, say, a whole flock of hens may have slowed down or stopped. And because, in fact, lice or mites, if one of them has it, more than one has it. But the reproductive malfunctions, that's not something that's contagious. That's something relegated to one bird, and if that one bird has quit laying, then she may be ill in that regard. That's not a contagious thing, but that is another reason why a hen might quit laying, a hen, not a whole flock of hens. So I hope this helps. There are all kinds of reasons why they might quit laying. Just remember, they are animals, and they are subject to stresses. And if I said it in the original video in 2017, October 2017, I did say that if you can't deal with the fact that a hen and all your hens may not lay an egg every single day, then you probably shouldn't have chickens. You probably should buy your eggs at Walmart. Although that may be tough right now. I was just at Walmart, actually. So anyway, that's the subject of why your hens may not be laying. There may be other reasons that you can't determine. But let's just suffice it to say their bodies do need rest. They do need rest. The ones that lay the most are the most likely to have reproductive malfunctions, like the sex links and all the common hatchery stock. But anyway, so that is the subject today. I don't think I've left a whole lot out. That's pretty much most of the things that would make a whole flock kind of quit laying at the same time, or for whatever reason. But anyway, so well, today I had my husband. I said, I want to go to Walmart. I'm tired of ordering everything online. I want to get out. I want to go. And for the first time, since this stupid accident happened, I put on my jeans. I put on blue jeans. I put on my skinny jeans, actually, because the incision is painful, and my leg does feel bruised. If I could touch it, and it feels bruised, and it does look bruised. But the incision itself was very scratchy and painful. But now I can put on my jeans, even my skinny jeans. And I went to Walmart, and I took my wheelchair, and I noticed that my stamina was better. I didn't wear out. I had a good time just being there. I know it sounds crazy to have a fun outing to Walmart, but when you've been stuck in the house this long and the only place you've gone is to a doctor's office, it was fun, let me tell you. So there you go, people. There's why your chickens might have slowed down or might have quit laying. Don't sweat it. Just if they're molting, feed them extra protein. In the form, get some mealworms. You can feed them eggs if you have some eggs. You feed them scrambled eggs. It's always a good thing to give them extra protein, or see if you can find a higher protein layer pellet like I feed. That Tucker Milling has a 22% layer. I think Faithway Feeds, which is also based in Alabama, I think, also has a 22% super layer. But yeah, this time of year, up the protein. This time of year anyway, I would up the protein, because you've got some going through a molt right before the really bad cold hits. I know I've got several that are molting right now. My almost 14-year-old June is a bunch of quills. My husband tells me I haven't seen her. I need to go see her, because of her age, she may pass away before I see her again. But I can't walk yet. I can stand. I can put my broken leg, my foot on that leg on the ground, and I can actually stand up. Now, I can't take a step yet. I can't bear my full weight on that leg yet. I can stand up and use it to prop myself and balance myself. So that is a lot of progress, and it's the nerves at night. The worst problem with that is at night. It's like little cattle prods zipping down the front of my leg. That's when I have the most trouble with it. But I think that's all the nerves kind of coming back together, re-knitting themselves, so to speak, and I think that will subside as time goes on. If I have any nurses here who are familiar with that, let me know what you think about that. The worst thing is at night. My husband has a painkiller that is for nerve pain, and one night after suffering through this and being off of opioids for a couple of weeks, and I said, let me try one of those, because I swear if it's for nerve pain, it seems like I know this is nerve pain. You could recognize nerve pain, and I think it might help. Oh, I hit on the perfect thing, let me tell you. But I think it'll subside soon. As the nerves finally get all knit back together. So I'm doing good. I'm okay. I just want to get back to my chickens. I want to get back on my feet and get back to my chickens. And they must be scraping the road out there or something. I don't know what they're doing out there. But it's interrupted my video. So I'm going to go ahead and get back in the house. It's a little cool out here, but it's not too bad today. And it's sunny. I like that. It's sunny. So we'll talk to you guys later. If you have any questions, just leave them for me below, and hopefully I'll get them. I've noticed that a lot of questions and a lot of comments are disappearing again. I don't know what's up with that. I did have a comment that I removed from my Stealth Livestock and Tribute to a Friend video. It just amazes me how some people can get on that video. A woman sitting in a wheelchair with a broken leg mourning the death of a really good friend, and they choose to be nasty to me on that video. I thought, you know what? I'm gonna let you have it, because usually I would just, ban. I was about to just ban the guy, and before I thought, you know what? I'm not letting you get away with that. And I let him have it. And then I thought, okay, now I can ban him. But yeah, sometimes it makes me feel good just to really zing them back, and I did. It's amazing. It's amazing. The trolls, they never die. It's like they just keep reproducing. And Anyway, I'll let you guys go, and y'all have a great week, and hope everything's okay with you. And stay frosty and keep prepping, because it ain't over yet. It's just starting. Bye, y'all.